Hello, all, and welcome. And I'm the MGTOW philosopher. Now, in this video, I would like to discuss MGTOW and feminism and how they are in no way the same thing. They are absolutely different. Now, the reason I'd like to talk about this is because I've heard a lot of people lately and seen many people posting videos comparing the two, saying that feminism and MGTOW are really the same thing with the same goals. They both want pretty much exactly the same thing. And I have to disagree with that completely and say, no, they are very different. First of all, feminism mainly claims to be about egalitarianism or equality, while it really tries to achieve superiority for women and the disenfranchisement of men. Now, MGTOW, it's the total opposite of this. All MGTOW is about is men simply wanting to be left alone. That's it. We just don't want to be bothered. That's all MGTOW is, really. Now, part of that being left alone is not in any way contributing to women, okay? No, we don't want to live with them. We don't want to marry them. We don't want to have kids with them. We don't want to transfer any of our wealth to them. We just want to be left alone. What's wrong with that? Now, women, however, as feminists and women, but feminists, women, regardless if she identifies as a feminist or not, want our money. They want our resources. They want us to live with them. They want us to pay their rent, their food, their electric, their car payments, their car insurance, buy the house, pay the property taxes, fix the broken appliances, cut the grass, clean out the gutters, lift heavy objects. And the list pretty much goes on and on. Any and every kind of physical labor, odd job that would have to be done around the house, including killing spiders and shit like that, they want the man to do. That's his traditional roles, right? They want him to do those things. Now, I mean, these are the things that women who are feminists want. They want the man to do all the traditional tasks, but they don't want to do any of the traditional chores of the female. Now, if MGTOW and feminism are actually the same thing, wouldn't men be wanting women to marry them? I mean, if they're the exact same thing, wouldn't men want women to be paying the bills, buying the house, lifting the heavy objects? They would want to know how much a woman made. First thing a man would ask a woman, how much money do you make? Or what kind of job do you have? How much money do you make? I don't ever hear men asking those questions. We don't give a shit about those things. I mean, they would ask so they could determine whether or not she could take care of him in the style that we have become accustomed to. But we don't do that. And because we would want to know how much we would get out of them in case the woman divorced us, you know? But we don't care about that either. We don't do that either. Women do those things. Feminists do those things. MGTOW don't do those. Men in general don't do those things. Especially not MGTOW guys who just want to be left alone. So how can you say that they're the same thing when they don't do any of the same things? If they were the same thing, they'd be 100% equal. And they'd have all the same goals. All the same actions would be taking place. All the same calculations about the other person would be taking place. But none of it is equal. So how can anybody say they're the same? Now, MGTOW don't even really want to be proactive and push for men's equality. That's more the men's rights movement. Now, in my opinion, they should be doing that kind of thing more proactively. I mean, if you ask me, they should be doing more. As nothing happens by just sitting and talking. You have to take action. The left has proven that. They go out, they protest, they raise hell, they scare the crap out of conservatives, they scare them into silence, they scare them into submission. That's how they've taken over in the past 50 years. But honestly, how are these two things the same? Someone please tell me. Everything I've named, how are feminism, the qualities of feminism and the qualities of MGTOW the same? Somebody please tell me how. Now some of you might say they're the same because the MGTOW guys want to be free of traditionalism. And that alone makes them both the same because women want to be free of traditionalism too. Nope. You see, it's not even remotely the same. Not even remotely. Yeah, women claim to want to be free of being quote-unquote slaves to men, and they say they no longer wish to be traditional, but they still expect us men to provide what they need to indulge their whims. You see, they use more in taxes than they contribute, and they marry men and take all their money through state-sponsored theft. They have kids and get money that way, and they get 95% of the alimony out there. I mean, 95% of alimony goes to women. Men don't do any of these things. First, we don't want or need women to take care of us. Second, we contribute more in taxes than we use, a lot more. Third, overall, we receive little to no alimony. Fourth, we don't get the kids 90% of the time. And fifth, there is no equality under the law for men, something that feminism is supposedly about. But it's not. And equality under the law is the only equality that actually matters and should exist, but doesn't. And honestly, the man, he gets zero benefits from any form of relationship and is only taken advantage of. Even if the woman is somehow reasonable, the man will still get screwed if he gets married. He can easily get screwed if he pisses her off. She can claim rape, abuse, and she'll always be believed, even if she's lying and has a capricious nature. Or even if she is reasonable and just decides to divorce him, the state, for whatever reason, the state will take half his shit anyway and give her custody and make you pay alimony. Now, all these things being the case, how is the man's situation in the relationship anywhere near on par with that of the woman, so that you could in any way compare them and name them the same? His leaving his traditional role is a 100% perfectly reasonable action and reaction, really. Whilst the woman, wishing to discard all traditional female roles as well as destroy men and totally remove from them the power that they have, makes these situations totally different to begin with. They're both coming from a completely different place. And you can't compare them and say that they both want to remove themselves from their gender roles, so they are the same. They're not even starting from the same place, and their reasons for leaving their roles are very different. Now, of course, you could say that their goals are the same. I mean, some MGTOW do call for taking away a woman's right to vote, as well as her being removed from university education, for example. Some like to say, what's a woman need to be in a university for? All she needs to do is cook and clean. Meaning that MGTOW want to have all the decision-making and lawmaking power. Now, in this way, you could say their goals are the same, in that women want to take away all men's power, and you could say that many MGTOW want to take away all women's power. However, you have to stop and realize that one of them is right and one of them is wrong. One of these groups is better at the job of governing and leading, and one is not. Now, of course, the real problem is the government, of course, honestly speaking. The government has too much power and can too easily follow their own agendas. Every law should be subjected to a public referendum, in my opinion. I think that the government has far too much power and ability to exercise that power without any real immediate oversight by the people who put them in office. And I think a public referendum would be a good idea, as well as a review by the Supreme Court or perhaps some lower court that was created or tasked with that specific undertaking. And, you know, every law should be subject to some kind of judicial review to make sure the law is valid and in line with the Constitution. As it is now, lawmakers just do whatever the hell they want, and the public be damned. As for feminism and MGTOW, the starting points are simply not the same. You cannot say that both have similar goals, so they are the same movements, essentially. No. You have to look at their ideology. That's where you'll see whether or not they're the same or different in terms of their goals. We've already proven so far to this point that they're in no way the same in the way they're represented, for the reasons that men and women choose these paths, for the reasons that men choose to be MGTOW, women choose to be feminists. None of those things are the same. So while some people could argue the goals are the same, let's take a closer look at the ideology to see if that's actually true. Now, MGTOW is an objectivist movement. It's based on logic and reason and critical thinking, despite what some people might say is in truth just about men going their own way. And any ideology attributed to it is done solely by individual followers who ascribe their own beliefs and viewpoints directly to MGTOW and say, oh, that's what MGTOW is. No. Because at its base, all MGTOW is about is men going their own way. That's it. Wanting to be left alone and deprive women of the support of men, which allows them to maintain this fake power structure that they currently have. A power structure that could not exist without men enabling it. The rest, mainly the beliefs that center around women's inability to make good decisions politically, the fact that women are not equal to men, these are not so much MGTOW beliefs as simple common sense. I mean, MGTOW really doesn't even have an ideology. Now, some people want you to think it does, but it doesn't. In that way, it's similar to atheism, really, which is nothing more than the lack of belief in a God, because there's no evidence for such. The same goes for MGTOW. There's no ideology there. It's just, this is MGTOW. Men wanting to go their own way. That's it. Now, men have objectively decided it's not good for them to commit to women anymore, meaning live with them, marry them, or have kids with them. Hence, he goes his own way until enough men do the same, and the system rights itself through attrition. That's it. There's no ideology, really. Just men using reason and common sense to go their own way. That's why they're going their own way. They've seen logically and reasonably that it's the best route to take. That's it. Not so for feminism. Feminism is a subjectivist movement, meaning it is based on feelings, and those feelings are their facts. It has a leftist ideology and is so full and robust a subject and ideology that you can take classes in it, women's studies, and get degrees in it. Useless degrees, I might add, but degrees nonetheless. Essentially, it's cultural Marxism. MGTOW isn't an ideology, and it's certainly not cultural Marxism. It is just men wanting to go their own way, and parasites not wanting us to because they need our resources. And you can see this in how both react to each other. Men simply come to the conclusion that the world would be better if men handled most, if not all, of the political and economic decisions. While women, they hate men for spreading their legs and explaining things to them that they can't understand. And they call these things man-spreading and mansplaining. The difference between the objectivist and subjectivist viewpoints breed far different observations. And for subjectivists, you get unbridled emotions such as anger and hate over the most petty things. While with objectivists, you just get a simple conclusion. That's it. One conclusion. Now, this is a mistake many who try to compare the two make. They just see the very, very surface, right on the surface goals and say, aha, same thing, really. They're no different. No, nothing could be further from the truth. It's like comparing apples to oranges and saying that because both are fruits, they're the same thing. Wrong. You see, men, especially MGTOWs, we want to return balance to society. That's it. And stop the degeneration of the Western world. For MGTOWs, it is bigger than, I'm a man. I'm not as powerful as a woman, so I want parity with them. No. It's about righting a sinking ship. Now, with feminists, it's about nothing more than staying in power, getting free shit, and disenfranchising and hating men. And of course, where else could it go? Because it's a subjectivist movement. Now, do these two things sound the same to you? They sure don't sound the same to me. They don't sound anywhere near the same. Not even close. In the end, objectivism, subjectivism are opposing forces. Not the same. And the same goes with feminism and MGTOW. One is subjectivist, one is objectivist. And there's no way you could call them the same in any way, shape, or form. I am the MGTOW philosopher, and I wish you a good day. Take care.